got the promotion I worked so hard for, but when I started getting blamed for my boss's mistakes, I realized I was just a scapegoat in their corporate game. Now I'm struggling to decide if I should quit or stay. I remember the exact moment I found out I got the promotion. I was sitting at my desk, surrounded by the usual hum of keyboards, the occasional ringing of phones, and the soft murmur of co-workers in the open plan office. My inbox had pinged with a message from HR, marked confidential, and as I hesitated to click it, my heart was racing faster than I ever thought possible. It had been months, no, years, of late nights, missed weekends, and countless cups of coffee, all leading up to this. I had poured myself into every project, stayed after hours to help colleagues, and even taken on responsibilities that weren't technically mine, just to prove that I was ready. I had convinced myself that hard work, dedication, and loyalty were enough to secure the recognition I deserved. And then, finally, there it was, the official confirmation. I was promoted to senior project manager. For a brief moment, I felt invincible. The pride was intoxicating. My name had been announced in a small internal email, and a few co-workers came by to congratulate me, their smiles warm but slightly hesitant, as if they were measuring my worth against their own ambitions. I smiled and nodded, feeling the thrill of validation, the kind that seeps into your bones and makes all the exhaustion worthwhile. I thought, for the first time in a long time, that I had finally arrived. The first week in my new role was overwhelming but exhilarating. I had more authority, more responsibility, and an entire team depending on me. I drafted schedules, organized meetings, and started making strategic decisions that would shape our projects. My boss, who had been distant and occasionally dismissive before, seemed pleased, at least outwardly. He nodded approvingly when I presented plans, sometimes offering brief, cryptic remarks that left me guessing but eager to please. At first, it felt like a partnership. I assumed my boss's guidance was intended to help me grow into the role. I was careful, meticulous, and, most importantly, determined to make an impression. Then, about a month in, things started to shift. I noticed small inconsistencies in our project timelines, miscommunications with clients, and tasks being reassigned without explanation. At first, I tried to attribute these to normal corporate chaos. Everyone made mistakes, after all, and I was still learning the ropes. But the first real warning sign came during a team meeting when a client complained about a delayed project was brought up. My boss, with a tight smile, turned to me and asked why the issue hadn't been flagged sooner. I was stunned. I had been reporting progress weekly, providing updates in meetings, and even sending detailed summaries via email. I calmly explained the steps I had taken, emphasizing my documentation and prior notifications. My boss listened, nodded slowly, and then said, almost casually, "Well, we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. I'm counting on you to handle it next time." There was no acknowledgement that the situation wasn't my fault, just a subtle implication that I was responsible. Over the following weeks, the pattern became painfully clear. Mistakes that weren't mine, some beyond my control, were quietly attributed to me. If a deadline was missed, I was the one asked for explanations. If a client expressed frustration, I was the one who had failed to manage expectations. Even minor administrative errors, like a spreadsheet miscalculation or a misfiled document, somehow ended up in my lap. Each time, I followed the procedure, submitted reports, and documented my work meticulously, but it never seemed to matter. My boss never corrected the narrative. In fact, sometimes I caught them subtly shifting blame, making offhand comments that implied incompetence on my part to anyone who would listen. But if you want to hear the full story, be sure to follow the link below.